Critics call them roving guillotines on the road, not because of the people behind the wheel, but how 18-wheelers are built, with those trailers set 4 feet or more off the ground, leading to crashes like this. It's called an underride accident. Crashes that are so violent, caskets often stay closed at funerals. While the exact numbers aren't tracked, the trucking industry acknowledged in a recent lawsuit hundreds die this way every year. People like Lois Durso's daughter, Roya, who was killed in an underride accident on an Indiana highway in 2004, and Mary Ann Carth's young daughters, Mary and Analia, who died in an underride accident on a Georgia interstate about a decade later.
Purple was Analia's favorite color.
Orange was Mary's.
Orange was Mary, and the burgundy was Roya's. And the reason that we're doing the red is because of all the people that have died because of truck underride.
All the spilled blood.
Now, Marianne and Lois lobby lawmakers, one congressman, one senator, one petition at a time. All of them stuffed in those binders, the women going door to door on Capitol Hill, demanding Congress pass laws requiring what's known as underride guards on the sides and fronts of semis, as well as updating standards for underride guards already required on the backs of trucks to make them stronger and hopefully prevent vehicles from having their tops sheared off in a crash. We've followed these mothers' journey since 2017 in our ongoing series, Big Rigs, Big Risks. And now, after years of resistance by the trucking industry, we've learned one of the nation's leading voices for independent truck drivers may be ready to agree to at least some change.
We agree to the rear guards. We don't have a problem with that.
Louis Pugh is the executive vice president of the owner-operated Independent Truck Driver Association, which represents more than 160,000 members nationwide. It is the first time a national trucking organization has offered support for new underride regulations. But there's a catch. Pugh says OOIDA would only support new laws strengthening rear guard standards, which our investigation found don't always hold up in accidents. The group remains opposed to requiring guards on the fronts and sides of big rigs, despite crash tests done by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety showing those side guards can stop side underride and possibly save lives. In fact, it was a side underride accident that killed Lois Durso's daughter.
Or believe it or not, when we were in church and we were praying, she would always hold my hand, and it's just not the same. Life is not the same without her, nor will it ever be.
Pugh told me all the research and demonstrations like this one last year just blocks from Capitol Hill doesn't convince him side guards will be worth the investment.
You know, my last semi-trailer was $42,000 just for that trailer without any side under. So now we're looking to up in the price, maybe another $2,000 or $3,000. That's hard for a little guy to eat. That's hard for a big guy to eat. There's not that much profit in this business. And if you want me to buy this technology and to buy into this technology, you're going to need to show me it works.
Pugh says that means real-world testing, prototypes paid for by the government, studied by a federal agency, like the Department of Transportation, for effectiveness. In fact, just months ago, the U.S. General Accountability Office, or GAO, called on the DOT to conduct additional research on side guards in a report on truck underride accidents. Back on Capitol Hill, that bill that would require the expanded truck underride guards has been languishing in committee. So these moms, now joined by others fighting alongside them, have a new plan.
So here's that new strategy. Instead of pushing for passage of the entire Stop Underrides bill, WUSA9 has learned that the moms, along with staffers from the 2 offices that originally introduced that legislation, are now advocating to pull some of the key provisions out of the Stop Underride bill and write them into what's known as the FAST Act. Now, the FAST Act is basically a funding bill for transportation and infrastructure. It's up for renewal every 5 years and is up for passage again in early 2020. The idea being that if they could get some of those key safety provisions from the Stop Underrides bill written into the FAST Act, that could be a more effective and quicker way to get those safety requirements out on the road.
Okay, all set.
Marianne and Lois don't know which provisions, if any, lawmakers will agree to include in the FAST Act. That now appears to be their last best chance to see new underride legislation.
We're hoping that by having to actually see this and physically handle it, that's going to do a lot more than just show them a number of signatures.
Hoping these petitions and their continued message helps force change that spares other families their grief.
What we're doing is not as much for our daughters as we are. It's a way to honor them, but it's for other people because, you know, we know what can happen and there are ways to prevent it.
And because we know that this isn't going to bring them back. And this is a poem that Aunt Leah wrote when she was 12 years old. It is called Time. Sometimes it seems very slow, others swift. Its goal seemed to be making all things past. Flowing like a river, never drying up, it flies on wings unseen, unshakable, unrivaled. It divides things, but one day it will not matter, for it obeys its maker. It is changing things all around, as I, for one, knows. Anna Leah Karth, age 12.